President Trump has once again thrown the world of international trade into disarray. His latest target, Canada. Effective February 1, 2025, a sweeping 25% tariff will be levied on a wide range of Canadian goods entering the United States. This move, announced with characteristic bluster, has sent shockwaves through both nations and beyond. The economic ramifications are potentially enormous, with billions of dollars in trade hanging in the balance. This is not the first time Trump has employed tariffs as an economic weapon. His trade war with China, characterized by tit-for-tat tariffs, dominated headlines for years. Now, it seems, Canada finds itself in the crosshairs. The question on everyone's mind is simple: why? What has prompted this sudden and drastic escalation in trade tensions between two of the world's closest trading partners? The official justification from the White House cites the flow of fentanyl across the US-Canada border. The opioid crisis, a genuine tragedy, is undoubtedly a serious concern. However, framing Canada as the primary source of this deadly drug is misleading at best. The vast majority of fentanyl enters the United States from elsewhere, making Canada an easy and convenient scapegoat. Moreover, Trump's history of making demonstrably false claims about trade deficits and the supposed benefits of tariffs undermines his credibility. His insistence that foreign countries pay tariffs is simply untrue. The cost is ultimately borne by American consumers and businesses. This latest move against Canada appears to be yet another example of Trump's misguided and ultimately self-defeating protectionism. The White House has attempted to justify the new tariffs by pointing to the fentanyl crisis gripping the United States. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt has stated that the influx of fentanyl from Canada poses a grave threat to American lives. She has even gone so far as to claim that it has the potential to kill tens of millions of Americans. While the opioid epidemic is undeniably a serious issue, using it as a pretext for punitive trade measures against Canada is deeply disingenuous. For one thing, the data simply does not support the claim that Canada is a major source of fentanyl entering the United States. The vast majority of this deadly drug is trafficked from elsewhere, primarily China and Mexico. Furthermore, drug overdose deaths in the United States have actually been declining in recent years, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. This suggests that while the opioid crisis remains a significant challenge, it is not spiraling out of control in the way that the White House implies. It is also worth noting that Trump himself has a history of making misleading or outright false statements about trade. He has repeatedly claimed, for example, that trade deficits are inherently bad, and that foreign countries pay tariffs imposed by the United States. Both of these claims are demonstrably false. Trade deficits can be a sign of a strong economy, and tariffs are ultimately paid by American consumers and businesses in the form of higher prices. In short, the White House's attempt to justify the new tariffs on Canada by invoking the fentanyl crisis is unconvincing. The evidence suggests that Canada is not a major source of fentanyl entering the United States, and Trump's own track record on trade issues calls his motives into question. It seems far more likely that the tariffs are motivated by a combination of political opportunism and Trump's long-standing protectionist impulses. Amidst the storm of controversy surrounding the newly imposed tariffs, the U.S. administration has hinted at the possibility of exemptions. However, details remain frustratingly sparse. An unnamed administration official offered a glimmer of hope, suggesting that some exemptions might be granted, but cautioned that they would be few and far between. Press Secretary Leavitt, when pressed on the matter, declined to elaborate further. This lack of clarity has done little to quell the anxieties of businesses on both sides of the border. Uncertainty reigns as industries left in limbo scramble to assess their exposure and explore potential mitigation strategies. The automotive sector, heavily integrated across the US-Canada border, is particularly vulnerable. A 25% tariff could disrupt supply chains, increase costs, and potentially lead to job losses in both countries. The energy sector, another pillar of Canada-US trade, is also bracing for impact. Canada is a major supplier of oil and natural gas to the United States. The tariffs, if applied to these energy exports, could have significant implications for energy prices and security in both countries. The lack of clarity surrounding potential exemptions only exacerbates the anxieties of businesses operating in this vital sector. The Canadian government has called on the U.S. to provide concrete details about the exemption process. Businesses need to know which products might be eligible for tariff relief and under what conditions. Without this information, it is impossible for them to make informed decisions about their operations and investments. The longer the uncertainty persists, the greater the potential damage to the deeply intertwined economies of Canada and the United States. Canada, long accustomed to a cordial and mutually beneficial relationship with its southern neighbor, has been caught off guard by Trump's aggressive trade tactics. However, the Canadian government is not taking this lying down. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has vowed a robust, rapid, and very strong response to the tariffs. Canada, while preferring dialogue and diplomacy, is prepared to defend its interests. Preparations for a retaliatory strike are already underway. The Canadian government has earmarked $1.3 billion to bolster border security, a move widely seen as a preemptive measure to address potential vulnerabilities that Trump might exploit. More importantly, Canada is exploring targeted tariffs of its own, focusing on goods from states politically important to Trump. The goal is to inflict maximum economic pain on Trump's base, thereby pressuring him to reconsider his actions. The economic impact of a full-blown trade war between Canada and the United States would be significant for both countries. The Canada-US trade relationship is worth roughly $1 trillion annually, with billions of dollars in goods crossing the border every single day. Over 75% of Canada's exports are destined for the US market. Disrupting this flow of goods and services would harm businesses and consumers on both sides of the border. Beyond the immediate economic fallout, a trade war would also damage the long-standing friendship and cooperation between Canada and the United States. These two countries have been close allies and partners for generations, working together on everything from defense to environmental protection. A protracted trade dispute would inevitably strain this relationship, undermining trust and cooperation on a range of vital issues.